Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining today's Redington virtual sessions. Today's topic is securing employee devices using EMM and MTD. The session will be presented by Mr. Afzal. If you have any questions during the session, please put them in the Q&A tab on the left-hand side. The questions will be answered towards the end of the session. Over to you, Afzal. Thank you so much.
Migrated from the on-premises to the cloud, right? So as we are transitioning, or you could say that as we have moved on to the next level of IT, which is apparently the bring your own device framework, or you could say that the on-cloud business, you could say, right? So we are quite certain that we are providing the flexibility to our employees, but we know that flexibility could possibly have certain repercussions, right? So we need to make sure that as we are offering flexibility onto the end employees, or you could say end users, we need to make sure that security is also in tandem with it, right? So that's why today we are here talking about EMM and MTD collaboration, right? Where the EMM, or you could say enterprise mobility management, which was earlier, it was a product sprawl earlier. Earlier we used to have MDM to manage the devices, MAM to manage the applications, MCM to manage the content share repositories. But nowadays, it has been consolidated all together with certain add-ons such as containerization, with additional functionalities such as watching, or you could say additional operating system usage, etc. And now it is called as EMM solution, Enterprise Mobility Management Solution, right? And the security part is handled. Yes, EMM comes with a native security, but you could say the fully fledged security is offered by a separate component called as MTD, MobileIron Threat Defense, or natively it's called as Mobile Threat Defense, right? So tomorrow we believe that we are going to have the cloud infrastructure everywhere. As we are seeing the transition already, we see that every second day or third day we get a requirement saying that, hey, customer is migrating from the exchange, on-prem exchange, to the Office 365 environment. And then we see that there are a lot of Dropbox in place, there is Salesforce in place, etc. So we see this transition happening already in the IT infrastructure, right? So Uber and Toyota are one of the two companies which has totally utilized MobileIron to meet their mobility requirements, right? So if we talk about the end user experience, before I get into the technicality of the whole solution, I would request that we have a look into this end user experience, which would give us a brief overview of how exactly the solution is expected to function, what kind of results it has to offer, right? So
MobileIron Mobile IT Platform enables companies around the world to transform into mobile-first organizations where employees get access to key business processes they need on any device and app they want with a secure experience they love. Initech is a global manufacturing company and uses MobileIron to secure and manage mobile apps, content, and devices for its 10,000 employees. Today is John's first day on the job, and he's ready to use his personal mobile device for work. First, he downloads the MobileIron client to automatically configure and secure his device. John now has corporate email, Wi-Fi, VPN, and intranet web access. Passwords and digital certificates protect his identity. The MobileIron client creates a secure and invisible container to keep enterprise data secure and separate from John's personal information. As a manager, John needs access to product design documents that sit behind the corporate firewall. With the MobileIron ecosystem, he can choose from the best content management apps in the industry. The content app becomes part of the MobileIron secure container on the device. John gets the fantastic content experience he wants to access and edit corporate documents, with MobileIron protecting the data both on the device and as it travels back to the enterprise or cloud. John needs to update the production schedule. He downloads the homegrown order-taking app from the Initech Private Enterprise App Store built with MobileIron. MobileIron checks if his device is authorized to run the app and that the right policies are in place. John only needs one password to access all his work apps. Corporate data can move freely and securely between the apps in the secure container, but it cannot be exchanged with personal and unsecured apps. All traffic from the secure apps to the enterprise flows through the MobileIron Sentry Intelligent Gateway to secure and protect data in motion. As John uses his personal device at home, if one of the apps that he installs on the device turns out to be malicious and could compromise corporate data, MobileIron detects the presence of the unauthorized app, removes enterprise data from the device, and blocks further access to enterprise resources. When John uninstalls the problem app, his enterprise services and access are restored. 6 months later, John decides to buy the latest and greatest mobile device and give his old one to his daughter. With MobileIron, IT can selectively wipe just the business data from his old device and make sure all the apps and content John needs are now on his new device. John is productive on a device he loves. IT knows that enterprise data is secured at all times. Initech Manufacturing is transforming their business by being a mobile-first organization using MobileIron.
So I believe that this video gave us a little bit of an information of how the end user experience looks like, right? So what happens is that the moment, let's say that we were to implement the bring your own device policy framework onto our organization. So what happens is that we can send an invitation onto that particular end user saying that, hey, you are invited to join this company infrastructure. Right? In order for you to do so, please click here. And the moment you click on the hyperlink, you get to have this red colored application called as Mobile at Work, which is the main management application, right? And then in this, you type in your username and password or the kind of authentication that is being implemented all across your organization. It could be single sign-on, it could be on the basis of biometrics, it could be on the basis of anything. And this is customizable as well, right? And the moment you enroll yourself, then all the applications that have been pushed by your company's administrator, be it an in-house application, be it a publicly available application, it will be pushed onto your end devices, right? And if we were to talk about the way the applications are pushed, it's kind of very easy. All you need, we have this app catalog over here. This is the MobileIron dashboard. You could say this is the main console, okay? So you just need to click on add an application, right? And then you can see that there are various application stores over here. iOS store for iOS, macOS store for macOS, Google Play for Android, and Windows Store for Windows. So all you need to do is, for example, if you were to select one single store, then all you need to do is just type in the name of application. For example, let's say Exchange, right? And then you get to have all these Exchange applications, and you just need to click on it and select, and then you can assign a category to it. You can customize your own category as well, as in, let's say that the name of your organization is Acme, so you could just type in the Acme personal apps, or you could say Acme public apps, and then you can just have it uploaded to that particular category. All right, and then you need to click on next, and then you can choose to distribute it to certain number of people. For example, let's say if you were to choose, send this application or distribute this application to IT administrators, then you can apply it for only IT admins group. If you were to apply it for everyone, then you can just choose everyone, right? So then you click on next, and then you can configure it right from here, right? Such as what is the Exchange server that this application needs to connect to, right? And then the kind of DLP policies that you would like to implement, etc. Then you need to click on done, right? So this is already there, so it says that the application already exists. All right, so this is how you upload the applications onto the end phones, right? And then you also have, let's say that you have an in-house application. For example, let's say that you have your own HR management system. So what you could do is that you can just go to the in-house section, and then you should, for the iOS, you should have an IPA application package. For the Android, you must have the APK file. For Mac, you should have the PKG or MIP, and for Windows, you should have MSI, MSIX, etc. Now, all you need to do is just choose a file and then choose that MSI package or the corresponding package, and then you should have the application uploaded onto the end user's phones. All right, so then get my content, as in, let's say that you have a couple of SharePoint repositories or some of the confidential documents. So you can distribute it using an application called as Docs at Work. That is a containerized application. The whole purpose, as I mentioned in the beginning, that the whole purpose of having the EMM solution is to ensure that you have enough flexibility with certain level of security, right? Or you could say native security in place. So what happens is that all these applications such as apps at work, content, for content we have Docs at Work, for secure internet access we have web at work, right? And for emails, we have Email Plus. So all these applications are containerized, as in it's like having a phone inside a phone. So these applications which are containerized cannot really interact with the base operating system, or you could say that the base storage or base RAM. So they'll be totally independent of most of the components of your basic phone. All right. So then you have DLP in place. All these containerized applications, they come up with DLP, right? So DLP such as, for example, let's say that you don't want anybody to be taking a snapshot of the document which is stored inside docs@work, which is the secure container for documents. So you can have a DLP policy in place saying that, okay, no one should be allowed to take a screen capture. All right. And the second way of DLP would be you could restrict to copy and paste outside that particular container. Right. Now, the good part about this is that, let's say the employee is leaving the organization today. So what you can do is that you can selectively wipe the work data, as in you could just click on that particular device and then you can say retire. So when you retire, only those data, or you could say only that chunk of data which has been pushed via MobileIron, that will be deleted without having to affect your rest of the device's data, right? So these applications, they come up with a single sign-on as well, as in you don't really have to type in the username and password. You don't have to authenticate to these containerized applications, again, because you have authenticated already to Mobile@Work. That's the main management application, right? So you get to separate between your work and your personal apps as well, because these are indicated differently. Or if you go for Android enterprise model, right? So in that case, it will form a separate profile altogether, right? And in the App Connect model, it comes with two models. One is App Connect model, another one is Android enterprise model. In App Connect model, all those applications which have been pushed via MobileIron, they'll come with a briefcase icon on it, so that making it easily distinguishable from rest of your applications, right? So, and when it comes to Android enterprise, it creates a separate profile altogether, as in a different widget altogether. So you can access that widget. It would say that it's a work widget. So in that, all those applications, all those data that has been pushed from MobileIron will be present inside that particular widget, right? So we know that you get your device in hand, and then you enroll it, and enrolling is generally done. You can send an email invitation, or you could send an SMS, so that highlighting the hyperlink, so that the user can just click on it, and then he has access to Mobile@Work application, which is apparently the management application, right? And then once he do so, he gets his applications, all the applications which has been pushed across, right? So this is a functionality of mobile application management, right? And getting your device, enrolling it, and retiring it, selectively wiping it, all those is a functionality of MDM, mobile device management. Thirdly, you have MCM, that is your Docs@Work, that is powered by your Docs@Work application. This is again a containerized application, and this focuses on your data, as in your SharePoint repositories, as in any document. It could be any PDF, or it could be a normal network drive, it could be a web dev, it could be a SharePoint, it could be anything, as long as it has the capability to interact in port number 135 and 449. So it's fine, right? Moving forward, so you can selectively wipe off the work data as well. Then it's very easy to configure. The provisioning is very easy. All you need to do is upload or integrate with your AD, and then select a particular OU and send the invitation across. And as you do so, you get an invitation, and then you have an ability to enroll, right? You get to have an enterprise app stores where you can push only those applications which are to be permitted, all right? As in, this could be your in-house applications, or this could be your public applications as well, right? It is enabled with a secure inter-app communication. And then with security policies and lockdown policy, App Connect policies, all those important policies in place, which ensures your security posture, you are secure enough already, right? And it's very easy and seamless to configure set of new devices, right? And then you get to have all the applications being silently installed. So you don't really have to get inside Apps@Work. You have an option, basically. If you want, you can get inside the app catalog or Apps@Work or MobileIron enabled app store and download each and every application manually, or else you can go for the silent install, with which the applications tend to download automatically. You have the provision for that, right? And it also supports, let's say that if you don't want to implement any BYOD policy, if you want to use a EMM solution solely for your company owned devices, for example, let's say that in the case of Uber, right, each and every driver is given a phone, right, and that phone is owned by your company. So in that case also you can use EMM solution. You can implement various use cases, such as you could use a kiosk mode in which driver would have access to only those applications or that one single application which he needs to use all the time. And let's say the phone is lost, right? In that case, you can selectively wipe it or retire it, right? So moving forward. So this is the whole architecture, right? So you have a core in place that's called as MobileIron core, or if you're going for, let's say that if you're going for a cloud solution, that will be called as MobileIron cloud. This is the console, and core is going to be the same. It's going to offer the same functionality as that of MobileIron cloud. The only difference would be it would be an on-prem server, right? And the second tier would be MobileIron Sentry, right? So how do they function? What makes them different? So let's say that I get a phone in hand, right? I send an invitation. All the configurations, remember, all the configurations are being done on MobileIron core server, right? And when you enroll, and let's say that we have sent an invitation, and user opens his email, and then he gets to have an hyperlink where it says that you have been invited by MobileIron team. So all he needs to do is just click on it, and he gets to download this mobile at work application, right? And then when he enrolls, when he types in his username and password, right, he has to enter the host name of MobileIron core server, right? And core cloud is anyways deployed over cloud, so you don't really have to enter the host name. So that enrollment traffic basically hits the MobileIron core or MobileIron cloud server, right? All the applications, all the configurations that you push, that will be deployed from this management server or MobileIron core or MobileIron cloud server, right? All the configurations, all the applications, everything, basically everything is pushed from MobileIron core or cloud server. With that being said, we can clearly assume that core is the main management server, or you could say management module, right? So what role does Sentry have here? So what Sentry does is that, let's say that if you were to, let's say that all the applications have been downloaded, which has been pushed by MobileIron's administrator, right? So, and if the end user, if he tries to click on, let's say, Email Plus, which is the containerized email application, right, developed by MobileIron that comes with the DLP functionality as well. So the moment you click on that, that traffic which you are accessing, the infrastructural traffic, would be passed through MobileIron Sentry. So Sentry is like a gateway, or you could say enforcement module. Whatever is being authorized by core is enforced by Sentry. So all the data is basically passing through Sentry, right? Be it the data of applications. Let's say if you have any in-house application server deployed behind Sentry, that traffic would be passed through Sentry. All email traffic as an exchange traffic, if you're using an on-prem exchange server, that will be passed through Sentry. All document, as in let's say that network drive oriented traffic or SharePoint oriented traffic, that will pass through Sentry. Or in the case of web at work, any intranet website will be accessible through the enforcement module, right? So now talking about the kind of applications that MobileIron has to offer, right? So it comes with apps at work, about which we just spoke about just a while back. So apps at work is enterprise app store. So all the applications that you make available through the MobileIron core is published inside this apps at work catalog. And Email Plus is a containerized application, as in everything which is stored inside, be it your message, be it your mails, be it your attachments, be it your hyperlinks, be it your contacts, everything, calendars, everything is basically stored inside this container, and this container is encrypted, right, with DLP policies in place, as in you cannot copy and paste some chunk of data from the email to outside of the container. Additionally, it comes with a per app VPN tunnel capabilities as well. Per app VPN tunnel, as in, let's say that you don't want to publish your email server on the internet, right? In that case, you can use Email Plus application as well. So what happens is that the moment you click on this application, it does a SSL handshake with your Sentry, negotiating the most secure cipher suite, and then the SSL tunnel is formed. And since now the tunnel is formed, and you have to make sure that Sentry is able to reach out to the Exchange server, so there is this indirect communication channel being formed. Right. So even if it's an intranet server, or you could say anything which is not published over the public, right, that will still be accessible using these MobileIron enabled applications. The reason is because they come with perhaps VPN tunnel capabilities, right? So the question here would be that, let's say I have an in-house application, all right, and I would want to enable perhaps VPN tunnel capabilities with a little bit of DLP control on it. So is it doable? Yes, it is doable. All you need to do is that you need to take that APK and then you need to wrap it with MobileIron's SDK, right? And once you wrap it properly, what happens is that you get to have the perhaps VPN tunnel capabilities with DLP capabilities, and that application start acting as a container, because it is wrapped with a MobileIron SDK, and that makes it very difficult, or you could say that it makes it, it's your base operating system thinks that, okay, this is a MobileIron application which is containerized, right? And Web at Work is for accessing, it's a secure browser. It's like a Google Chrome normal browser. The only difference is that it's App Connect enabled, as in it comes with app tunnel capabilities, so you can access your intranet servers using Web at Work. It has DLP controls on it as well. And there is another module called as Help at Work. So Help at Work, we can assume a use case here. Let's say that today one of your employees has enrolled his phone onto company's infrastructure, right, with MobileIron. So he gets to have all his applications, but for some reason he's not able to access one of the most critical applications, right? So what you can do is that you can push the Help at Work application, which is basically TeamViewer, right? TeamViewer has a tie-up with MobileIron vendor. So TeamViewer is used as a remote control component for MobileIron. So what happens is that you can take the TeamViewer access off the remote phone, and then you can troubleshoot it the way you would want to do, right? Lastly, you have tunnel. This is like your VPN client, MobileIron tunnel, right? So you just need to turn on this tunnel, and then you get to have one single IP address from the pool, as in typical your Office IP pool allocation. You get to have that, and then you can do an RDP to the end servers, or you could place, if you're using Windows machine, you could also place a couple of VIP policies to make sure your data doesn't leak out, right? So you, in the end, with EMM solution in place, EMM, or you could say EMM in a combination of MTD in place, you get to have the device of your own choice that you would want to use. You get to have the native user experience. You get to have secure access to enterprise web applications, which we just saw, that will be through your apps at work, or it could be through your web at work, right? You get to have secure access to enterprise content using Docs at Work application, right? And then you can push a couple of device configurations and security policies, such as what kind of device passcode policy you would want to have. And you can write a couple of posture policies mentioning that, all right, all the phones should be patched with the latest patch, or they should be updated properly, or these operating systems should not be allowed, right? And apart from that, you get to have a secure corporate email using Email Plus, and you can push the applications to the MobileIron enabled app store called as Apps at Work. The operating systems which are currently supported are iOS, Android, and Windows. And yes, it has also started supporting Chromebooks, right? Google Specs, Google Watches, all those. Apple Watch, it supports them. So moving forward. So you get to, for Windows specifically, for Windows machines, you get to have another component called as Windows Bridge, right? So this is an application, right, that you can push via the MobileIron console to the Windows 10 desktops. So what happens is that when you push this application, you get to have additional functionality such as Windows Information Protection. For example, let's assume a use case that you don't want. Let's assume a use case that, now let's talk about COVID-19 here, right? So we have this crisis going on. We are all working from home. So in that case, you can use Windows Bridge feature. So what you could do is that you can push a RDP client from MobileIron, and you can enable it to pass through the MobileIron Bridge. So what happens is that you can just connect via the MobileIron tunnel as well, as in MobileIron tunnel is a VPN component. So you can connect through MobileIron tunnel to establish a VPN connection, and then using the RDP client which you have pushed, you can establish a RDP connection, and then you can use Windows information protection profile, which would enable you to have DLP in place, right? So this is something that you can achieve. So you could say MobileIron Bridge will give you additional functionalities such as modifying the GPOs, right? Modifying Windows registries, Windows 32, and then you can push the PowerShell scripts onto the endpoints, and additionally you can have the VIP protection in place, right? You can sideload keys, you can update, right? You can write an update policy, etc. Right? So now when it comes to deployment model, you get to have three different models of deployment. One is on-prem server, right? You can go for the cloud-based implementation, or lastly, you can go for a combination of both, hybrid model. So in the case of your on-prem server, your core and Sentry, which are the main two tiers, where core acts as a management server and Sentry acts as a gateway. So both of them would be placed on premises. And in the case of MobileIron Cloud, there is no Sentry. There is only going to be cloud. Okay, but let's say that you just don't want to have cloud functionality alone, because you have a couple of servers which are present on premises. So in that case, you can opt for a hybrid model. So what would happen is that you'll have to integrate your Sentry with MobileIron Cloud component, right? That makes the model hybrid, right? So now, with that being said, we can always emphasize on the fact that how critical is security too when we are offering flexibility, right? So that's why we have MobileIron Threat Defense solution, right? And the vital factors, or you could say that the most critical concerns that MobileIron Threat Defense solution would address would be the attacks which are originating from devices itself, as in, let's say that the device is not patched properly, right? Or your device zero-day vulnerabilities, or it could be any USB exploit detection, right? All those, it protects it from all those kinds of attacks, as in any attack which is originating from the device itself, right? As in not anything which is not interacting with Wi-Fi or any third-party application, etc. As in the flaw in the device itself, right? Secondly, the flaw in network. It could be in the form of man-in-the-middle attack, or it could be in the form of your rogue access point creation, right? Then it could also, the third vector, which is very common, you could say that nearly 60% of the time, the mobile devices are compromised using applications, right? So what people do is that most of them, unknowingly, they just download the APKs from the web. And when you download the APKs from the web, right, that APK could possibly inject it with another set of code that is highly malicious. So you need to make sure that you have the right solution in place in your device itself that can detect this malicious behavior, right? Secondly, nowadays, even Play Stores are kind of compromisable. So some of the hackers, they use a technique where they upload a malicious application to the Play Store, right, by understanding the kind of checks that Play Store applies. So it is happening. It is actually happening. So we need to have, again, a solution in place which can detect the attacks, or you could say applications which are being uploaded from the authorized stores as well. So we need to, in nutshell, you can say that we need to have a 360-degree approach or zero trust framework, as in we don't trust not only the external ones, but also the internal ones. And at the same time, we just don't suspect the unauthorized sources, but we also suspect the authorized sources, right? So the needle of suspicion is on everyone. That's the zero trust framework here. And for that, we need to have MobileIron Threat Defense solution in place, right? Moving forward, what are a couple of benefits of MobileIron Threat Defense solution? The benefits are that it's easy to deploy. Within 10 minutes, you can have it integrated with your MobileIron solution, right? It's an API-based integration. You just do API-based integration, and that's pretty much it. Right? It's insightful, as in it gives you a brief visibility onto whatever is going on, such as inventory, the kind of applications that are being downloaded, right? The nature of those applications. It does app reputation checks. It has its own ways of comparing the heuristics and give you out the verdict, right? And lastly, it does something called as on-device protection, right? As in, there are certain traffic, or you could say lot of attacks that can be blocked on device itself without having to send it across to the cloud for analysis, right? And if you were to talk about the packet flow, it's kind of simple. One, on the device itself, let's say that any application is being installed. So what the MTD component does is that it performs the scan on it, right? And it recognizes the policy violation, which is these policies regarding the policy violation are framed inside the UEM solution. So it's interacting with the UEM solution to recognize what is considered as a policy violation. And finally, it would take the action that you would want to take, as in something that you might have configured, such as detect it and block it, or quarantine it, or just alert, right? So you can say that the MTD solution is kind of advantageous because you don't have to install any additional client, right? So it's going to be the module will be sitting inside mobile at work component, or you could say mobile at work application, right? And you don't have to install any more applications. That's it. You just that the moment you configure this, and when you enroll, or you could say when you refresh your device. So in that case, the component would be sitting inside the mobile at work application, and that's pretty much it. So making it very much easy and putting no load on your system, right? And in the end, it's an AI ML based system, as in it uses ML to collect the metadata, and AI is the engine which gives you out the verdict whether or not this is malicious, right? So MobileIron has a very huge ecosystem of partners. It is integrable with Google, Apple, and you can see a couple of other partners over here. For MobileIron App Connect nature, you have Accellion, Acronix, etc. And then it has a couple of other integration for the Service Connect as well, right? Such as Blue Coat, Splunk, etc. Right. So it's an EMM vendor with full security certifications such as FedRAMP, FIPS 140-2, and a couple of other important certifications as well, making it highly reliable, right? And in nutshell, you could say that MobileIron solution with EMM and MTD in place, you get to have full visibility, and you could say this is the right way of implementing the BYOD framework, and you could say even the company-owned frameworks, right, where you are using company-owned devices. So in that case, it is making sure, this whole combination is making sure that you have right flexibility with right amount of security that is required, right? So that's pretty much it. Now we can take up questions. All right. So if you have any questions, you can always write back to us. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions. So that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for your time. Have a good day.